Hey, how's it going? Back on some TF2 today, and I wanted to talk about hating, which some have said is the internet's favorite pastime. And it's certainly something that I enjoy to do from time to time. I think it's kind of become a meme to be like a hater. It's sort of like not really a trend, but it's like something a lot of people say, like, oh, I wake up and I'm already hating. Like stupid stuff like that. And usually they're joking, but I think there is a lot of truth to it. It can be very fun to not really think too deeply about anything and to just try dunking on everything for a joke or whatever. And I think a lot of people, especially with how the internet allows us to be anonymous, I think a lot of people started doing it, compared to if they weren't anonymous. I know there's that one, the picture or the meme of it says something like, when the random e-celeb you dislike for being annoying gets outed for a legit reason to hate them. It's something like that. And it's the guy with his hands together, and that's immediately what I think of. I think a lot of negative opinions people have on, people, and it doesn't have to be people, it could be shows or video games, music, whatever. I think a lot of it is pretty shallow, and it's pretty surface level, which is completely fine. I don't think you have to think too deeply about it, which is what we're going to get into in a second. But a lot of the times, you'll just have bad vibes about somebody, and then occasionally you'll be right, and you're sort of vindicated, and that continues the cycle of sort of just hating shit for no reason. I meant to make this video a couple weeks ago, and that was because a streamer who I won't name, but it's pretty obvious if you're watching this at the time it's coming out, was getting outed for a bunch of crazy stuff. And I've had sort of bad vibes about them for a while, but it wasn't ever something I voiced or anything like that. I never really let these sort of surface level, shallow opinions really affect my behavior or anything like that. But it was sort of just these weird vibes I was getting. And they happened to get outed for some pretty wild stuff, some stuff that I wouldn't have even guessed they would have done, but that just so happened to be one of those moments where I was unknowingly vindicated, and that sort of sparked this whole idea that I was thinking of, because I have been wanting to make a video about this for a really long time. I've talked about anger and being reactionary and all this type of stuff, and how a lot of my opinions are negative. A lot of my split-second opinions that come up immediately are negative. I don't know why I'm like that. That's just how I am. And I'm sure that's not abnormal at all. I'm sure that is something that a lot of people also do, if I had to guess, just witnessing behavior from other people online. And I think that's okay, as long as that's not leaving your head and you're not just kind of being a dick for no reason or constantly spreading uneducated opinions. I don't think that's really a bad thing. I don't think it's something that you can control in the moment. You can do things to mitigate it. You can recognize patterns in your behavior and what makes you think certain ways and what triggers it and stuff like that. And in the long term, you can try and mitigate that behavior. But it's something that I think a lot of people just do without even thinking about it. It's something that I do without even thinking about it. I've gotten a lot better at identifying when I'm doing it and asking myself if there is any actual, evidence or any real reason for why I am getting bad vibes or just sort of feeling off about a show, or why don't I like this anime for no reason? Why don't I like this random influencer? And like I said, I think that sort of behavior is completely fine, as long as it's not leaving your head. But I think something I've noticed for a long time is people trying to moralize their hatred, trying to make this otherwise harmless, for the most part harmless, but this otherwise pretty normal behavior, they try and intellectualize it, try and moralize it. And I think they get lost in the sauce a little bit. I think I've seen this most on TikTok and on Twitter, where I think a lot of young people have adopted, I think what a lot of people call therapy speak, which also in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but I think a lot of terms become so overused and they sort of lose a lot of their actual meaning. And I think you have somebody who is voicing an opinion that is in reality pretty shallow, but they're sort of just describing it differently with a lot of buzzwords and, therapy smart sounding words to make it sound like they've actually thought about it more than they actually have. Maybe you're just getting bad vibes about a YouTuber or something like that. And instead of just being like, yeah, whatever, I just kind of think they're annoying, I don't really care about them, you instead sort of go on Twitter and start trying to rationalize how, no, they're actually a bad person because you just don't like them. And again, this doesn't have to be about people. I've seen so many people, for gaming, for example, I play a lot of games, and there are games that I can play and I can objectively say, this is an amazing game, but it's not for me. I think a lot of people will play a game and they will try and dig for reasons as to why, no, it's actually objectively bad. It's not just not for me, there is some objective reason as to why this product is bad and everyone else is wrong. I see that so much, and it's kind of annoying. And I'm going to give an example of something recently where I was sort of doing this. When I'm making this video, the Elden Ring DLC it came out, I think, a month ago, or a couple weeks ago. And I have tried to play Elden Ring in the past, and I really like it. You know, there's a lot of things I like about it. I think I started a samurai class, and I played it for about 20 hours, 15 to 20 hours, and I've had a great time, but then a bunch of stuff came up, and I just sort of put the game down. And I tried to pick it back up for the DLC, and I just wasn't really, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. And I was sort of feeling that when I started playing originally, but I had things come up in my life that gave me an excuse to stop playing it. But now I'm sitting down and I'm trying to play it, and like the world is so beautiful, and the music is amazing, and the characters, like the boss designs, everyone talks about, they're genuinely amazing. But there's just something about the game that isn't clicking for me. But everybody else is saying that this is like the best game ever made, and I don't even think they're wrong. I just don't get it, and that's okay. I think it would be different if I was then going online and sort of arguing with people, writing paragraphs in comment sections about, no, this is bad because da-da-da-da-da, when in reality, I don't think I should be wasting that much mental energy on me just not vibing with something. It isn't really that big of a deal. Now, that being said, I think you can critically analyze things and sort of nitpick and, get in the nitty-gritty of stuff like that. But I think if you're in the position of me, just a normal dude, I don't know if it's necessarily worth a lot of the anger that you're going to feel or the time that you're going to spend arguing with people online about an opinion that at the end of the day, no one's going to remember, and I don't think it really matters that much in the grand scheme of things. I mentioned before in another video where I had a friend who was arguing on Twitter about movies with people, and it was just over stuff that didn't matter, not even whether the movie was good or bad, but just about little things in the movies. And again, you can have those conversations and it'd be perfectly fine, but I was just seeing this person every day arguing with multiple people popping up on my feed, and it's just dude, you're making yourself miserable. Is this really worth spending that much time over? And I'm making this video because I'm kind of talking to myself, as I am with all these videos. I'm talking to myself because this is something that I see within myself. I think I spend so much time, letting people or media or whatever, just things I don't like, sit in the back of my head and upset me, when in reality, I should just move on because it's just not for me. I think it's important to also mention that this doesn't apply if it is actually something that's causing harm. If there is a legitimate reason to make it a moral issue, like if something comes out about a person, like the streamer that I mentioned earlier, and it is genuinely heinous, and it's oh shit, that's pretty bad, yeah, then I think it's totally fine to get into it and contextualize a lot of those feelings. But I think when it comes to just little stuff, I don't necessarily think it's worth it. At least for me, because I think I let a lot of stuff that is otherwise not very important take up large corners of my mind and make me miserable. There are times when I'll be having a bad day and then I realize it's because I'm thinking about a video game. When in reality, I have bills to pay and I have, papers to turn in and stuff like that. And it's just what am I really doing with my time? Are my thoughts productive? Which they don't always have to be, but if it's making me miserable, maybe I should start thinking about it. But yeah, I hope I sort of got my point across, and I hope I am making at least any bit of sense. That's going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, see you guys.